Hello and welcome to Good or Bad. It's Christmas again, and I have a Christmas movie to watch, which is a horror comedy about a dysfunctional family besieged by evil Christmas creatures led by the supposedly terrifying Krampus. Directed by Michael Dorothy, Krampus was released in 2015 to a decent 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. So let's get all festive and start the movie! The movie opens with scenes that make me nostalgic for Jingle All the Way, whilst also reminding me of the horrors of working in retail over Christmas. I've started killing my customers. I bury them under the folded pyjamas. So after the main kid in this movie continues the violent festivities by going batshit crazy on another kid for saying Santa isn't real, he gets a good telling off. By that I mean they do absolutely nothing. Good parents! But anyway, this kid is called Max and is played by MJ Anthony. His father Tom is played by Adam Scott and his mother Sarah played by Toni Collette. Then we have his sister Beth, played by Stefanie Lave Owen. And finally, his grandmother, who always seems to know too much about what's going on, played by Krista Stadler. Well, at least we got the first half of the cast out of the way. So one of the main themes so far seems to be this kid struggling to come to terms with the fact that Santa isn't real. Well, of course he's real. I saw him once. It was many Christmases ago. I came down one night and I saw him there. It was wonderful. But the only thing I could never work out was what happened next. I mean, he had a giant net, he kept walking towards me, and then suddenly smoke filled the room and he was being tasered. But back to the movie. Questioning his faith in Santa's existence doesn't stop Max writing out his letter to Santa, which is when the rest of the cast arrive. This is Sarah's sister's family. Linda, played by Alison Tolman, her husband Howard, played by David Koechner. Then there's their kids, Howie Jr., Jordan, Stevie and baby Chrissy, played by Maverick Flack, Queenie Samuels, Lolo Owen and Sage Hunfeld. And let's not forget about good old Aunt Dorothy, played by Conchata Ferrell. Their families don't seem to get on all too well, but if they did, how would it be a modern day Christmas family comedy? Slasher horror. So yay! We have a traditional 2010s Christmas comedy setup. But what about Krampus? Well, it turns out that stems from the whole belief in Santa and Christmas thing. Because when Max's Christmas spirit gets crushed in the form of being bullied by his cousins, he throws his Christmas list out the window in rage and sadness, which causes a blizzard, which is apparently Krampus's signature move. They get up the next day with no power to the house, and Max spots a snowman in the front garden which makes him a tad suspicious. And I can see why. I mean, who would build a snowman during a blizzard? Who would do such a thing? Beth is worried about her boyfriend because he isn't replying to her texts, so she asks if she can walk around to his house and see if he is okay, and of course they let her. Shall we just skip forward 5 minutes to the part where she dies? To be fair though, when I first started this movie I didn't get the impression she would be dead within the first 30 minutes, and that's because she was nice to her brother. Usually it's the dickish relatives that die first. And naturally, later on they start to worry about Beth, so Tom and Howard go out looking for her. I have to say though, this blizzard looks really good. I'm sure there is much to criticise about this movie, but the blizzard effects is definitely not one of them. Back at the house, they hear noises, but chalk it up to squirrels.
Probably just squirrels.
Yes, squirrels. Big, heavy-footed, possibly human-sized squirrels. Ah, what the hell, it's Christmas, anything's possible. Okay, so Tom and Howard find Beth's boyfriend's house trashed with a knife stuck in a gingerbread man. Looks like they did catch the gingerbread man. Okay, I feel bad, next scene. They hear screaming outside and think it's Beth, only to get attacked by under-the-snow jaws. They retreat back to the truck, but yeah, that's not really an option, so they run back home. What, were they just round the corner or something? Anyway, they patch up Howard's leg but come to the conclusion that they need to stay put and wait out the blizzard snow monster situation. While we wait for the next attack, we see them bond as one big under the current dead family members and snow monsters killing people circumstances. Family. Howard decides to stay up and keep watch, only to fall asleep, and then his son Howie Jr. wakes up and sees a gingerbread man on a hook. Wait, no, Howie, it's a trap! That kid is always thinking with his stomach. Well, that's about all the Star Wars references I can squeeze out of this scene. Okay, Howie's gingerbread man food, but now it's story time! Dear old Grandma has a tale to tell. On a night many years ago, there was a little girl, and it was almost Christmas, but her village had given up, and fought amongst themselves for food. Which wasn't very Christmassy, so in her rage she didn't wish for a miracle, she wished for them to go away. And she got that wish, a wish she would come to regret. Don't you get it? She summoned Krampus by wishing everyone that ruined Christmas was gone, and now Max has gone and done the same thing. Which is why she always acted like she knew more than she let on, like always fueling the fire because apparently it helps fight Krampus off, and warning Tom not to go out looking for Beth because she knew it was already too late. But let's look closer at that story sequence. It's depicting a sad time in the village, a truck handing out barely any food, or rather rations you may say. It never gives an exact date, but I think this may be set during the economically hard times Germany had just after World War I, when their economy crashed. And I can't be 100% sure about that, but if that is the case, I do like that they work something real into this heavily fictional story. But Howard has had enough of stories and staying put, so he grabs his shotgun and goes out to get his son back. But they drag him back in when they see an army of snowmen and Krampus's little helpers running among them. So now that they know they are trapped, there's not much they can do, so the kids talk to Grandma about Krampus.
What's she saying?
She says we're fucked.
How'd you...
Because I'm old enough to know when life is coming at you with his pants down.
Wise words from Aunt Dorothy there, wise words. They come up with a plan. Before, when Tom and Howard were out, they found a snowplow, and if they can use that, they can all pile into it and keep driving until they escape the blizzard. But enough of plans, it's time for the movie to go absolutely nuts! You have jack-in-the-boxes that eat your family? I thought I was the only one. Now that's just stupid. Okay, we are in a Gremlins movie now. And it just changed to small soldiers. Okay, she's going badass. They fight off most of Krampus's little helpers, but the Jack-in-the-Box escapes into the vents. But Rosie the dog is going in to show it who's boss.
Rosie.
Well, Rosie clearly showed it who's in charge. But don't worry, Aunt Dorothy's got this.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I will admit that was kind of funny. You know, this all reminds me of the great Christmas Caroler incident of 2011. Just with less violence. Yeah, I don't get Christmas Carolers anymore. Krampus calls his elves back after they take Aunt Dorothy the baby, and Howard chooses to willingly follow them. They leave the house and try to get to the snowplow, but Grandma decides to stay behind and confront Krampus. So let's get a look at him. Oh, good. Our big, bad, scary monster for the movie is a Christmas-themed goat. When they come under attack, Tom tells them to go while he holds them off. He has plenty of time to hug them all and say goodbye, so I don't get why the monsters hold off their attacks for that. Maybe they're nice, evil Christmas monsters, because remember, you don't have to be mean to be evil. Next on the chopping block is their mother and her sister. They try to start the snowplow, but the elves keep on coming. until only Max is left. And he comes face to face with the Christmas goat man himself, and gives him his torn up Christmas list and the same reminder he left his grandmother all those years ago. But Max doesn't stop there. He goes after the goat man and takes his wish back and demands for his family to be returned. But Krampus just throws him into the underworld. I haven't got much against the acting in this movie, but this kid really seems very calm with the whole eternal damnation thing. And then he starts screaming when Krampus drops him in. What, did he think he was only fooling around or something? Moments later, he wakes up in his bed on Christmas Day with his entire family full of cheer. He thinks it was all a bad dream, but that would have been a monumental cop-out. But it turns out that he and his family are trapped in a snow globe, just like everyone else that Krampus has ever gone after. Except for when he originally went after his grandmother. Okay, so what does this ending mean? Are they trapped in Christmas Day forever? Well, the kid did want Christmas Day to be like it used to be. So the moral of the story is, don't wish for anything bad at Christmas, because if you do, a giant goat man dressed as Santa will enslave you and your family in a snow globe for all eternity. God, this movie was stupid. Don't get me wrong, it did have its good parts. The acting was decent, the effects were good, especially the blizzard. Perhaps not the gingerbread men, but to be fair, that's never going to look natural. The music was good, it was all very Christmassy. In fact, this movie was very Christmassy all round, which is always a good thing for a Christmas movie. Technically, this movie is a horror, but I wouldn't really say it is. It's more like a family survival movie like Jurassic Park, just nowhere near as good. But on the other hand, this movie is a comedy as well, and it does have some laughs in it, but they all stem from the absurdity of what you're seeing. It's not cleverly written comedy, more along the lines of gingerbread men firing a nail gun at David Koechner. It's just so insane it makes you laugh, which is what I like about this movie, but the only thing that really lets it down in my opinion is the ending. There was no big over-the-top action sequence involving Krampus. A movie like this thrives on it being over the top. You can't have a Jack-in-the-Box eat someone without it being stupid, so you have to go all out insane. Which is what this movie did right up until the end, where it actually had Krampus in it, but from there on out it was pretty much just dialogue wrapping the story up. So overall, I think for what this movie was trying to be, which was a horror-light Christmas comedy survival movie, it did an alright job. It was funny in places, insanely stupid in most other places, and it didn't overstay its welcome at 93 minutes long. That being said, it's certainly no classic, but if you're bored and feeling a bit festive, it's not a bad way to kill a little time. You have been watching Good or Bad, and I'll see you next year. Merry Christmas.